Hello and welcome to Forgotten Clubs, where today we'll be going through a bit of football history in Rhyl. So I'm here now in sunny Rhyl in the middle of July to tell you a bit of football history in Rhyl. So the modern club in Rhyl at the present day is called CPD Rhyl 1879. Um, the first the first football club in Rhyl, it looks to have been formed actually a year earlier in 1878. There's records for that, and it's possibly it could even have been formed in 1877. So the people who formed the Rhyl Football Club in 1878, the same sort of people who were involved in the 1878 club, were found playing for another Rhyl Football Club in 1877 as well. So early football clubs in Rhyl played on what was called the Winter Gardens. And the Winter Gardens is, or would have been, sort of behind me here, sort of between Palace Avenue and Fort Wellington, was where they played. When describing football history in Rhyl, when you start looking into it, I would describe it as more a patchwork of a fragmented patchwork of uh, formations, reformations, mergers, and name changes, which has sort of become skimmed into one sort of continuous history. So I will be referring to notes to some of the dates because it is quite confusing and messy. So yeah, the first football club was around 1878 or even 1877. They played in the Welsh Cup, but they folded in 1886. Um, so there's conflicting sources as to why they folded in 1886. Some say that there was a split in the club, and others say that they couldn't find a ground to play on, which led to them falling apart really. So they reformed in 1888, so 2 years after, and they played in the Welsh Cup, and they also played for a season in the Welsh Senior League, but they folded again in 1891 due to debts. Um, a new club was formed in 1892. This time they were called Rhyl Athletic. Rhyl Athletic only existed for a single season before they changed their name back just to Rhyl Football Club, and sort of pretended nothing had ever happened, and then just assumed the lineage back to the 1878 incarnation. Um, so yeah, in 1893, then they became Rhyl, and then this club then existed until 1897. They played in the North Wales Coast League. So they changed their name in 1897. They became Rhyl Town. Um, there's not no reason given why, but a possible explanation is a team called Rhyl Amateurs had also formed, and Rhyl Amateurs were formed solely just for amateur footballers. But in 1897, Rhyl Town and Rhyl Amateurs were both in the North Wales Coast League, so it's likely that Rhyl changed their name to Rhyl Town to differentiate themselves from the amateurs. But in 1898, there's a merger when Rhyl Town and Rhyl Amateurs merged, and they formed then a club called Rhyl United. So when Rhyl Town and Rhyl Amateurs merged to form Rhyl United in 1898, they moved to a ground called Victoria Park. Um, Victoria Park is where I am now, at the site of it at least. So it's where the Matalan is. Um, so when they moved to Victoria Park, they also played in a league called the Combination. The Combination covered most of North Wales and also extended into the northwest of England as well. Um, Obviously, this ground would have been quite useful really back then for clubs travelling from further afield, as just behind me is the train line, and the train station is literally the other side of that green building and across the road. Um, so it would have been useful for teams coming from further afield. Obviously, there's a building behind me. This old building. It could be well over 100 years old. So this building may have been here when the football ground was here, and also that section of stone perimeter wall behind me may also have been here when it was a football ground as well. I'm not entirely 100% where the actual field was, but it's obviously if them buildings were here, it's going to be probably where I'm standing now, and then further back down there really. But yeah, this is Victoria Park where Rhyl United played for 2 seasons. Obviously, they played in the Combination for 2 years, and then like a lot of other clubs did in Rhyl, they then reverted back to the name Rhyl FC and at that point they moved to Bellevue. So although there are reports of games being played here before 1899, Rhyl United moved here in September 1899, and the first game played here was against Druids. That was 1899 in the Combination League. So it was called the Botanical Gardens, but then it became known as the Bellevue Recreation Ground. So yeah, they came here in 1899, then they changed the name to Rhyl again. So they played in the Combination League, which covered most of North Wales and northwest of England. So then, in 1911, they left the combination when that league folded, and they became known as Rhyl United again, taking the name of an earlier club and playing in the Northwest Coast League. And then after World War One, became Rhyl Athletic, which lasted until the 1970s. And the name reverted again back to Rhyl up until 2020, when unfortunately the club folded, but then reformed as the modern day Rhyl 1879. There were other clubs in the area as well, such as Rhyl Victoria, Rhyl Church Guild, and Rhyl Victoria Cross. But obviously, the main club in the area was Rhyl. Thanks for watching.